New personnel and improved play have led to 3 straight wins for your Ottawa Fury FC. We sat down with head coach Paul Dalglish to find out what's going right. Paul, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So last time we talked, beginning of the fall season, and you came off a disappointing spring season campaign, a lot of injuries as well too. A couple weeks later now, you've turned it around. Plain and simple, how have you done it?
It's just staying consistent. It was when, at the beginning of the season, that we understood that it takes time to, if you're going to build something that's going to last, it takes time to put those foundations in place, and we stayed consistent, we stayed patient when at the beginning of the season, and thankfully now you're starting to see the rewards of staying patient. And it would have been easy to have some kind of knee-jerk reaction and start trying to reinvent the game, but we stayed consistent, and thankfully we're now getting the rewards. So you ask what have we done, how have we done it? It's just by continuing to do the same.
So change is nothing new to you. You've dealt with a lot of changes at the beginning of the season, and now you're going through it again here in the fall season. Are you getting kind of used to new personnel coming in?
It was involuntary, at the beginning. We were pretty open about it. A lot of the players that left, we didn't want to leave. So we were forced into a rebuilding year, if you like, from day one when I came in, and then in midway through that rebuilding, we were hit with a lot of injuries, and then we had to rebuild again, and we got creative in the trade market and managed to bring in some players, and so it's been a very eventful first year. We won our first game in the Amway. We had an MLS team here for the first time, and now we're starting to win games in the regular season as well. So it's been a very eventful, roller coaster ride, but hopefully now we can settle down and start showing some consistency.
So the 3-5-2 formation has really done wonders for your squad. Was that a coaching staff decision, or was it just yours personally that you felt you need to make a change?
There was a few factors played into it, and I think people will look at the formation and maybe place a little bit too much importance on it. The principles have stayed the same of the way we want to play. I think it's important that you have a team that's flexible, that can play different formations to maximise your chances of winning against somebody else's formation. So the most important thing for me is that the principles stay the same, but the formations can change and adapt and tweak from week to week, so that you can maximise your chances of winning against the opposition system. And I think that's what we've done. I think even since we've gone to 3 centre-backs, sometimes we've played with 1 striker, sometimes we've played with 2 strikers, sometimes we've set up the midfield a little bit differently. We've tweaked the tactics game by game to maximise our chances of winning, and maybe those kind of subtle differences have gone a little bit unnoticed. But even though we have gone to 3 central defenders, game by game, everything in front of that's changed.
I've noticed a change in style of play in the last couple of games. More balls being driven out wide and then into the box. Is that a result of players like Tiso and Edward being in your lineup?
It's a result of, in certain games the team might defend narrow that we play against. I think we've had as many as 28 crosses in the box in some games, and then in other games we'll maybe only have 15. So a lot of that comes down to less than a style change. It comes down to more of a case of exploiting another team's weaknesses. So if a team defends narrow, then you're probably going to get more crosses in the box, and that's probably the way that you're going to score. If a team defends expansive and doesn't transition, then you're probably going to get goals by going right through the middle. And I think you saw in some games we've got joy from going down the outside, and in some games we've got joy from going through the middle.
And instant impact too from some of the new guys. We were talking before about the hometown boys. Starting with Eddie Edward, what's impressed you the most about him in the short time he's been here?
With the local players, there's a little bit more on the line for them. That when they've got friends and family that they've grown up with, that are coming to watch them play, and there's no escape from it. All their friends and family, all their friends at work, all know that their son, the brother, the cousin, the friend is playing here, and they know the score, and you know, the local players have got to answer to those people on a daily basis, and that develops a little bit, you know, that little bit more motivation and that little bit of competitive edge to compete every day, and you know, those Jamar, also Eddie and Max, that they bring that little bit of that local edge that you need, and but on top of that, they also bring quality. I think the three of them have come in and shown real quality. I think Max and Eddie have come in on the outsides, and they've put in really consistent, dominant performances on the outside and won the battles on the outside. And Jamar's come in and played a couple of different spots, but did really well in both games as well. So they bring quality, but they also bring that little bit of local passion that always helps a team.
And Jamar and Max, of course, they bring MLS and national team experience. Where does that pay off the most, do you think, on the pitch or in the locker room?
You know, we've got a great locker room. I think we've got a lot of experience in that locker room already, and I think it's a very easy locker room to come into. The locker room's led by, you know, Julian de Guzman, who's got, you know, so much experience, captain of the Canadian national team. So when people see his calm nature and his relaxed nature and the way he acts on the pitch and off the pitch in a professional manner, then it's easy for others to follow suit. But you know, any experience that players can bring into the locker room is beneficial. But I think it's Julian's locker room for sure.
And you said after the Tampa Bay game that the team's just so together right now in the locker room. How important is that to you going forward in this long fall season?
It's everything. Even when the results weren't going how we wanted them to go at the beginning, the locker room was together. I don't think you've ever heard any kind of, you know, noise coming out of the locker room or any complaints, or, you know, there's been, everybody believed in what we were trying to achieve. And I think the way you get togetherness is by everybody going in the same direction. And I don't just think it's the locker room. I think it's everybody from, you know, the girls in the office, Stephanie and Carrie, the media department, Graham and Sanisha, you know, the players, the medical staff, everybody kind of believes in what we're trying to achieve here. Everybody's going in the same direction, and when you've got consistency, everybody knows what that direction is. And I think that we see the team as bigger than just the locker room. It's everybody on and off the field, and it's always been together. But you've got to be honest that wins do help make the mood you know, a little bit happier, and we're riding that wave at the moment.
So once again, Carl Herath has been very steady for your team. With the addition of Tommy Stewart, do you think it's freeing him up a little bit with that added extra striker there to get him some more chances?
I think that's what we're trying to get to, is we're trying to make sure that if you stop one area of our team, we can open up another area. And when we spoke earlier about attacking down the wings or attacking through the middle, I think both the goals in Jacksonville came down the middle. But I think if you look at other attacks that we've had in other games, we've been good down the wings. So I think we've got to try and just create a team that's strong everywhere and be a real team, so that if somebody does tactically stop you in one area, then you're very comfortable in going in another area. And I think having to focus on Carl and Tommy, or whichever way we decide to play, can only free up somebody else.
And our color commentator, Gord Smith, has said that if he continues play like this, Carl, that he should earn a spot on the Canadian national team. Do you agree with that statement?
Well, it'll be nice to see, you know, with us having so many Canadian players, I think we lead the country by a long way in the amount of minutes that Canadian players get, and with us having the Canadian national team captain as well. You know, we've had Marcel de Jong here. We've got, you know, all the other Canadians that we've got with Dixon and Eustachio and Edward and Roberts and, you know, Carl. We've got you know, even Marcel de Bellis has played games. Am I missing anyone? Mozzie, yeah, Mozzie's played games well. If you look, it wouldn't be a bad idea to come down and watch these guys, and you know, as a coaching staff, and we'll make them feel very welcome, and see these guys live in action, because they're doing very well for us, and I'm sure that in turn will only result in good things for the Canadian national team.
So talking a little bit about player development, we saw De Jong now playing for Vancouver. I know you want to keep your players here and have success with the Fury, but does that kind of make you happy to see your former players maybe move up into the MLS?
More so, we want to see it. You know, the only thing we really want to develop really is players for the Canadian national team pool. You know what? We want to try and be as successful as we can. You know, we want to develop a fan base here, and the best way to develop a fan base is by winning. So first and foremost, we want to win, and then we want to develop players for the Canadian national team. But a byproduct of that is some of our players are going to move on to MLS, and you know, we're not actively trying to move players to MLS because we want them to be successful here. But unfortunately, if it's a byproduct of success when you're in the second division, that if a player does come here and do well, then teams in the first division are going to want them. And you know, if people like us seeing Marcel De Jong start for Vancouver against Dallas at the weekend must fill everybody in the organisation with satisfaction, because we'd like to think that we played a little bit of a part in getting him back there.
So now you've won 3 in a row. So the game coming against Indy, what are you kind of doing in the training sessions to keep this winning streak alive?
It's taking confidence from those 3 wins, but that's about it. You know, it's if you most successful people don't ride, you know, don't get complacent. They don't rest on the laurels. They don't think that they've made it because they won the last game or the last 2 games or the last 3 games. They're fully focused on winning the next game. The last game doesn't matter, and the next game hasn't happened yet. So it only really matters what you're doing at this moment in time, and we've got to be good in this moment. We've got to work every bit as hard in training today, tomorrow, the next day, as we were doing before the last game, before the game before. We've just got to focus on the present, and then the games will take care of themselves. So we're not really looking too far ahead. We're not really thinking about how we keep it going, or you know, we're only really concentrating on a day at a time, and trying to make sure that tomorrow's training session is better than yesterday's training session, and that's how we'll continue winning.
Paul, always a pleasure talking to you, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.